Martha is the founder of Neverbore and Teen Startup Trainers. She has a Master of Arts in History degree and a Master of Science in Education Entrepreneurship, and has received numerous awards and recognition for her teaching. Martha Rush, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much.
Thanks for being able to join us today. I'd like to start by asking a little bit about your education programs. Can you explain these programs and to whom you teach them?
Yes, so there's really two types of programs. One is that I work with high school students. So I run an economics club at Mounds View High School, and as part of economics club, we have something called Startup MV. And kids work through the Lean Startup method, and they start their own businesses. So it's a lot of fun to see what they come up with each year. And then what grew out of that was, and out of my graduate program, is I developed a curriculum called Teen Startup Trainers for training teachers to do the same thing with their students. So I taught that course for the first time. My MVP was at the University of Minnesota in partnership with the Minnesota Council on Economic Education this past summer. And I'm looking to add 2 new sites next year, hoping to maybe work with an incubator or a business school or another organization that promotes entrepreneurship. Probably it would be outside of Minnesota.
And through this program, you mentioned something called psychological safety. Can you explain this concept?
Sure. I read about psychological safety this summer, and it made a lot of sense to me as a really important concept for teamwork. Adults, kids, whoever we're talking about, people work more effectively in teams when they feel like they will be heard, that they won't be made fun of, that nobody will drown out their voice, and when their contributions are taken seriously. And so that's something that's really important for kids to think of as they are starting businesses, but it's also important for teachers to think of when we're working with our students in the classroom or in clubs.
Absolutely. It sounds like it has a lot to do with promoting confidence and that being an important part of starting a business. What would you say is the most important skill to teach in terms of entrepreneurship education?
Well, that's really, really tough to choose. I would say I'm going to narrow it down to 2. I think divergent thinking or creative thinking is one of the most important. There's been a lot of research and a lot of ink spilled writing about the fact that our schools tend to promote convergent thinking, that we want kids to come up with one answer to questions. And so entrepreneurship is a great way to help kids learn to look at a problem from multiple perspectives and develop multiple answers. The other piece I think is extremely important is teaching the growth mindset or teaching a different attitude toward failure. We know entrepreneurs, the modal outcome for entrepreneurs is failure. More than 50% of small businesses don't make it. And we need to teach our students that it's okay. Failure is a lesson. Failure is information. You take it back, you do it differently next time. And I think too many high school kids see failure as a big red letter F that means stop.
Okay. So how would you say that these skills translate directly into business ownership, whether that be you yourself with your business or with some students that have gone through the program?
First of all, being able to think creatively or divergently, that's how they come up with their ideas. So seeing around the corner, coming up with some idea that nobody else has had or nobody else has had exactly the same way, that's so much a part of starting a new business. So the creative thinking is what leads them into developing solutions and even marketing strategies. And then being able to deal with negative feedback, that having that growth mindset and a different response to failure is really important, because when you start a business, if customers don't like your idea, you can't make them like it. You can't say you will buy this, you will like this. You got to be responsive to what they like and what they want, and you've got to, when people are interested in a particular part of your business, you build more onto that. So, yeah, I think that certainly has had an impact on me starting a small business, because I'm really wanting to branch out into doing more teacher workshops. And so I've done some, and I've gotten feedback, and I have a little better sense. Teachers find this valuable. They didn't like that part so much, and I got to go back and do it again. I got to refine what I'm doing so that it is what teachers need and want.
Do you come right out and say we aim to have the majority of you start a business as a result of this program, or do you take a different approach?
I think it's really important for high school students to go past the prototype stage. I don't want them to just – a lot of programs, I think, stop even before that. The kids come up with an idea, and you do a drawing, and you talk about it, and then you're done. And even getting to the prototype stage of actually coming up with a product or service. That's hugely important. But I really want, within the context of the program, I want them to actually start a business so they see all the parts of it. They see the good, they see the bad, they see we need money to get this going, they see we need customers, they see everything about it. Now, when they're done with the program, they may or may not want to be entrepreneurs. They may be perfectly happy to, take a corporate job, or maybe they want to be a teacher or whatever. But I think the skills that they're learning are going to be so helpful in so many different work environments. Any place where you want somebody who can think creatively and solve problems, young people with experience in entrepreneurship are going to be good at that.
You mentioned that more than 50% of entrepreneurs fail, and we've all seen the statistics on entrepreneurship, but you have a unique perspective from this. So I'm wondering how you feel entrepreneurship is trending right now.
Well, I think some of the big areas are certainly the sharing economy, building apps. There's a lot of fun, energetic startups in Minnesota. We certainly see a lot in food trucks, and not for students, but for adults, the craft brewery trend. Also, online education and business-to-business services. So providing, for example, graphic design for a service, or providing marketing for a business. Those are big trends right now. In fact, I've read a lot that says, it would be nice if we could get some of our best and brightest minds onto something besides sort of entertaining apps, and into more serious fields. But those are some of the big areas right now.
And in areas that are decreasing, how do you think that we can turn this around?
Well, from what I have read and what I understand, I think there's two really big factors. One of them definitely has to do with financing. I think a lot of young adults, a lot of millennials, a lot of them have college debt. We've heard about the student loan crisis, and it's like, do I want to take this risk? Where am I going to get startup funding? And there's been a trend since the recession of the capital sources, the venture capitalists and angel investors really looking at more established businesses, waiting for them to get past a critical point. So it would be great if there was more access to finance for young entrepreneurs. I also think, although there are a lot of business schools focusing on entrepreneurship and there's a lot of incubators, I think that more exposure for people at a younger age, so that, if you're somebody who has a business idea, getting you thinking about that when you're 17 or 18, and maybe getting out there and getting experience and even earning some money before you go to college, that can help shape your college plans. It can help relieve some of the debt, and I think that that's really important also.
I can absolutely relate to that. I'm a couple of years removed from college. I've had a number of ideas for business startups. They really don't teach you the whole financial component of this in school at really any level. So what could you say to a millennial such as myself that might convince us to take that leap of faith and start a business?
That's a good question. I think one thing is that there is a process. I think a lot of people have this sense that I need a brilliant idea. I don't have any brilliant ideas, so I shouldn't even try. And I think there's, you can read the Lean Startup, you can read design thinking books, and you realize, wow, there's actually really a method to this that you can do, and it will set you on the right path. And it'll help you know what. The cool thing with the Lean Startup is that you can start something without that huge investment. You don't need $1 million to start a business. You can get to the point of having your minimum viable product, and you can get it out there, and you can get customer response. And if it looks like something people want, take it a step further. So I think that the process is something really important for young potential entrepreneurs to learn. I also think realizing that the skills you'll learn, if you decide to leave a predictable paycheck job and call it quits and work on entrepreneurship for a year, I think the skills you're going to learn when you go back into the workforce, they are going to be valuable.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be something that you're going to be like, wow, I really regretted that. I sat around all year. So I think those are a couple things I would suggest.
With Neverbore as your own business, what is the greatest recurring challenge that you find yourself facing?
Learning to pitch myself is very hard. I've been a teacher for 20 years, and it's not a necessity. When you're a teacher, you have your audience, you have your paycheck, and you don't need to go out and convince people, take my class, take my class. So getting the word out there. I've gotten great feedback from people about the curriculum that I've written and the workshops I do, but I need to work on connecting with a broader audience, and so that's a challenge for me.
Lastly, do you have a success story from teen startup trainers that you can share with us?
So the actual Teen Startup Trainers program is really new, but I've been working with teenagers in entrepreneurship for about 6 years now. And yeah, I've had a number of students who go on to start their own businesses, either in college or after. One of them, Ridian Tech, which was formed actually with Junior Achievement Program, my students, they told me just recently, some of them have graduated and some are still in high school, that they're about to turn a profit on their flexible scheduling app, which they've been marketing to school districts. Another student who was the head of a business while he was in high school that was selling screen-printed T-shirts. Doesn't sound super, high-tech or super challenging, but he and a partner now are working on an alternative to the EpiPen. So they're going through the whole FDA approval process and finding manufacturing facilities, and it's really exciting to see the way he has structured his entire college experience around learning how to take entrepreneurship further. So I'm hoping we'll see even more as the Teen Startup Trainers curriculum spreads. I have another former student who is an Amazon reseller, and he does a lot of public speaking events, and he says, I wish I had realized in high school why I needed to learn math, why I needed to learn writing. Because if I would have understood, you need to know this math so you can do these spreadsheets for your business. You need to be able to write so you can write a pitch and do a presentation. He said then it would have all made more sense to him. So I keep that in the back of my mind all the time, that this is what's helping kids make sense of why they're in school in the first place.
Do you have anything else that you'd like to add before I let you go?
I guess I'd say one more thing, and that is that I have a book on teaching strategies called Beat Boredom that is coming out in November. So there'll be information about it on the website, but thought I might as well put a pitch in for that too. Thank you.
Thanks again for joining us today, Martha.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Martha offers a wide range of services through Neverbore, including educational consulting and training, curriculum development, and speaking events. You can contact her for availability at martha.rush@neverbore.org or learn more at martharush.org.